This Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis instant trade reaction edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Special emergency podcast, instant trade reaction to what almost broke the internet last night, or probably did break the internet last night, between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks. And off in the corner, you also had the Utah Jazz in the trade mix there as well. But we'll break down the entire trade here between those two teams, what it means currently, what it means to the future, who is probably going to be losing their jobs possibly of this trade, what this all does, will transpire, get through all of it, give you our takes here, and this should be a fun podcast here. But joining me here, of course, I've got the villain himself, the superstar of the show, Terrell Furman Jr. Terrell, how you feeling this Sunday morning, my man?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I am over here just cackling. It's a lot to go through. I think, however, I have a different take on it than a lot of folks.
Also joining us here, the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA Gambling Podcast, MLB Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, the man himself, breaking parlays anytime. We're in studio in Vegas, but continues to crush it. Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel okay. A little bit weird because I ended up taking a shower at like 12:30 in the morning. I get out of the shower and I see ESPN goes, "Oh yeah, Luka's headed to the Lakers," and I'm like, "Am I sleeping? Like what just happened?" And it's like, "Oh no!" Like apparently I took a shower at the exact moment the internet broke and potentially the NBA broke. So yeah, they kind of snuck it late. It kind of reminded me of when like Paul George and Kawhi were headed to the Clippers, and it was posted at like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
everyone was like, "What? Why did this happen?" Like when everyone was sleeping at this point. But yeah, it seemed to be a pretty crazy night in the NBA after LeBron had a triple-double during the afternoon. But overall, we're going to dive into this trade in a second, but definitely caught me off guard. I'll start there.
Yeah, I literally put my phone down to go to bed, and like 30 seconds later, like the phone started lighting up like Christmas tree text messages and Twitter notifications, and all hell just broke loose after that. So I think this is going to be one of those moments where you kind of look back and remember where you were when this trade actually happened between the Lakers and the Mavericks. Well, Scott was getting out of the shower. I was about to knock out. Terrell, where were you when the news dropped here?
Oh, I was just trying to figure out what the main event of WrestleMania is going to be. Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble like an hour before. Like literally, we're coming off of a Royal Rumble upset an hour before, and I'm going through all the wrestling tweets, all this stuff, and then here's this random tweet from Shams talking about, "Oh yeah, hey, there's a trade." There's no speculation, by the way. This is the thing for me. There was no speculation of, oh yeah, the Mavericks are shopping around Luka Doncic or the Lakers are trying to find suitors for Anthony Davis. No, it was just straight bomb.
Yeah. And I think that when I opened Twitter and like started scrolling, everybody's like, "Oh, Shum's got hacked. But no, another tweet like 30 seconds later comes out. He's like, "Nope, this is 1,000% true." So I mean, obviously, I'll get the trade details here. So the Dallas Mavericks sending Luka, Markieff Morris, Maxi Kleber to the LA Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis from the Lakers, Max Christie, and the Lakers 2029 first-round draft pick, and the Jazz receiving Jalen Hood-Schifino, the Clippers 2025 second-round draft pick, and a 2025 second-round selection from the Mavericks. The Jazz get there. But I mean, like Terrell, you mentioned that this was not even on the radar I mean, I think if you made a list of 5 players in the NBA that you thought would not get traded or were untouchable, I think Luka's definitely in that conversation there. Terrell, let me just start with you. I mean, you mentioned it, right? This was on nobody's radar. We saw that. I don't know if a lot of people watched news conference with Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd, but it almost looked like they were like reading a eulogy there of their jobs potentially being gone there. But obviously, you gave your reaction. You have a different take on this trade. Break it down for us on what you think is going to happen for the Dallas Mavericks now and the Lakers now, and then potentially into the future.
Yeah. So the Mavericks, for me, said just one thing, and it was very clear as day. And they said, Luka, it's fine. If you want to be fat, that's cool. Like, that's perfectly fine. If you want to be lazy and not, play defense or anything, just do that's fine. Perfectly fine. But $70 million is a high price tag to pay for that, my friend. And we see what the ceiling is. The ceiling is that we may get close to the mountaintop, but we're not going to get there because you're not going to give forth the effort. And you're conditioning, aka they're calling him fat. They're literally calling him fat. And so they're fat shaming him.
Durability. You can throw durability in there too.
Yeah, you could. And the only reason I didn't throw durability is because you have the same question about Anthony Davis. But for me, it was like all of that. You don't want to pay the supermax. Like, you're just trying to get out of paying the supermax for a player. And so how do you get out of paying for the supermax for a player? Well, you go get a top 10 scorer and a top 3 defensive player in Anthony Davis, who also plays the same amount of games as Luka. So, like, you're not even missing out on the fact of, you're trading for an injured player because you're giving up an injured player. Luka hasn't played since Christmas, and he's constantly injured. So the Mavs just basically said they're fed up, and they have a chance now where I say I'm kind of shocked at the media and the odds makers and everybody betting that is just now pegging the Lakers to go win the championship this year. I think that's absolutely hilarious. The fact that the Lakers odds have gotten shorter and the Mavericks odds have gotten longer. And I think the Mavericks are considerably in a better shape than the Lakers to go out and try to pursue a championship this year. I am very, very confused on it. I think the trade was good on both sides, as in the Mavericks wanted some way, somehow that they could turn into win now mode now. And they did get that in Anthony Davis and that type of player. But they gave up somebody that would have led them for years to come. And that goes over to the Lakers, who now have a reason to sell tickets when LeBron leaves. Like, it seems like a win-win to me.
So, yeah, obviously for the Lakers here, now you get a 25-year-old megastar with Luka Dončić for the next decade at minimum, right? 25 years old. You would expect him to stay there for the rest of his career with the Lakers. But now when LeBron does retire, he can now pass that torch over to Luka. But now you do, my question was, now, does this change the perspective for LeBron on how many more years that he wants to play now that he has Luka at his side there? But I think the more perplexing thing, or the head scratching thing for all of us, is if they made Luka available, and I think this is probably the bigger conversation, is why did the Dallas not come out and the Mavericks come out and say, hey, Luka's on the table, because 29 teams would have mortgaged everything currently and for the future to the Dallas Mavericks to get a player like him. And I think the first thing that kind of comes to mind, a lot of people were talking about, was,
will they?
I think so.
Are 29 other teams trading Anthony Davis?
No, I meant for Luka. Like,
no, but okay, I'm saying, the 29 other teams have a type of player that is a top 10 scorer, top 3 defender that you can plug into your team right now for Luka Dončić.
Well, I was going to say that's part of the difference here is ideology, because Munaf's talking about getting the best possible return,
right?
By getting a bunch of picks, where Dallas clearly seems to be focused on winning now. So I guess AD fits the timeline better if that's going to be your timeline. Having said that, you can still once again at least shop around to maybe force the Lakers to up their offer. You just got to play the field at some point. Even if you want to get Anthony Davis, let's just say, whether we agree with it or not, AD was the prized return that they wanted. You couldn't get more picks attached to AD. I know AD, once again, is a future Hall of Famer, great player, I get it. But you're looking at the trade, and you're wondering, they only got like 1 first pick attached to that. They could have asked for like 3 or 4 first-round picks, and the Lakers probably say yes.
Do they have those picks?
You can go down the line. You can trade picks 17 years in the future. I mean, the Jazz are going to trade it for an 8th grader. from the Suns the other day. You get what I'm trying to say, though. The point is, I feel like when you're talking about what the Mavericks wanted, they are on the win now timeline. I'm with Munaf on this one. I think that if you can get the best return possible for a potential franchise-altering guy who's 25 years old, who can help you with either ticket sales or at least extending your window by maybe a decade. We'll say that if we're being, like, I'd say 8+ years. We'll go that way. That's at least worth like 7 first-round picks or something. Like, that's worth something astronomical. Because I have, for example, the Nets and their return for KD. Now, there were multiple trades involved. KD was 34 at the time. The Nets got Cam Johnson, Zaire Williams. They got a 2023 first, 2025 first, 2025 first from the Knicks, 2025 first from the Bucks. That's 4 first-round picks already. 2027 first round for the Suns, 2027 pick from the Knicks. Once again, that's including the Bridges trade too. So 5 first-round picks, 6 first-round picks, with 2 pick swaps in 2028, 3 more first-round picks, 2029, 2029, and 2031, which means the Nets, for 34-year-old Durant, packaging a bunch of trades together, got 9 first-round picks, 2 first-round swaps, and 4 second-round picks with Cam Johnson. And you got Anthony Davis and 1 first-round pick. I think that's the point we're trying to make here, is that, yes, if you want Anthony Davis, you can get a great player in return who can help you win now. You should have at least fielded some more offers.
But that wasn't one trade, though. That's where I think that's not fair. That's not one trade. That was a package of KD, and then you also traded Mikal Bridges. So let's give them the chance. Maybe in 2 years, what if they win a ring, then they boom trade Anthony Davis again, and they get 4 first-round picks. Then I could understand that argument of like, okay, you still kind of came up short. But
he's also 31, though. Like, I don't know if he'll be getting 4 first-round picks if you trade for 33-year-old Anthony Davis in 2 years. Like, I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. So I understand the return. I just don't think that I would say of it as they got 9 first-round picks, because you also had to then move Mikal Bridges in that offer.
Yeah,
but that is still a considerable return. Yeah. Like, I will say, but all I'm saying is that Anthony Davis, like, when Anthony Davis, I think what we're forgetting, and I understand my part of this, that I did to this, and I'm saying it right in here on the pod in front of you gentlemen. I will not publicly make fun of Anthony Davis anymore, because it's gone too far. I will no longer refer to him as Professor Glass. I will no longer refer to him as street clothes. I will no longer cook Anthony Davis, because it seems that all of our jokes about Anthony Davis have made people forget that he's actually really, 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 really good when he steps on the court, even though he doesn't step on the court much. And trust me, that bench spot that Luka was sitting in is going to be completely warm by Anthony Davis for a little while over there in Dallas. All right, that's my last joke. But I promise you, Anthony Davis is a really, really good player when he's on the court. And he's played way more games than Luka this year. He's really dominant. And so that's where I'm like, man, like, yes, Luka is amazing. Luka is generational, and I understand. But they also just traded Anthony Davis. Like, that is a really, really good player the Mavericks just got.
Look, AD played 76 games last season. He's played 42 games this year, right? This is the first injury this season for Anthony Davis. But if we talk about injury-prone players currently, AD's not at the top of the, maybe not even the top 5 for me right now. I mean, I could name you 4 players right now, 5 players: Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Zion Williamson. Who am I missing? It's on the spot here, but I think that I agree with Terrell. Like, I think the disrespect here for Anthony Davis is a little bit too much. But
DeJounte Murray, Trae Young.
Yeah, DeJounte now, he suffered the torn Achilles, so he's going to be gone for at least 9 to 10 months now at minimum here for DeJounte Murray. But it's also the fact that, hey, if the Dallas Mavericks were going to trade Luka, don't you think they maybe pick up the phone and call? I'm just saying, like, the Thunder, because I don't
know how you blindly don't call the Thunder or the Jazz, who have 9,000 first-round picks. At least try to field some calls.
But nobody cares about first-round picks. We don't want first-round picks. That's not what we want. We want to go win now. We don't want to wait until 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029. We want somebody that's going to come and impact now. I commend the Mavericks for thinking that they're that good to win now. And maybe it was the fact that without Luka Doncic, they went and won and embarrassed the Thunder in 3 games and beat the Thunder in 3 games. Maybe that's why they said, because that's what happened this season without Luka Doncic. They are 3-0 against the OKC Thunder, who are the number 1 seed in the West. And they didn't even add Anthony Davis yet. So, like, I commend them for thinking that they're in win now mode to just go ahead and make this happen now. But, like, oh, man. I mean, I get it. I get why you don't want the first round picks, though. Like, I want to release us from the fact that every single trade you have to have a whole bunch of first round picks attached. Because, again, Anthony Davis is worth a lot of first round picks, and he's also not going to take the time.
LaMelo Ball, another name that's very, very injury prone. Scott, what else you got for the trade? As far as, all right, so we broke down the trade. I think that there's some type of agreement. And again, that, hey, they could have fielded some calls to maybe get a bigger return as far as players or draft capital, whatever the case might be. Going towards the future now, what does this mean for the Dallas Mavericks, right? Because they think, and I don't know if you guys watched the press conference with Harrison and Coach Kidd there, but they believe that they right now have a championship roster with the addition of Anthony Davis. I think there may be one more move that they do go out there and make. But how does this set up for Dallas now for the future? Because look, Kyrie, they locked up Kyrie for, he signed the contract extension. We'll see what they do with Anthony Davis. Like, Terrell mentioned that, hey, who knows, maybe they win a championship in the next year or two, and they try to flip Anthony Davis without having to sign the contract extension. And I forgot who mentioned that, hey, that Luka or Dallas doesn't have to pay $70 million a year for a guy like Luka Dončić, who, is a little bit injury prone. It comes into the season maybe a little bit unhealthy.
They called him a fat, hurt, lazy slob. We're not giving you $70 million. Like, that is really the only reason that they didn't want to do this.
Scott, where does this leave I think let's start with the Lakers, because I think the conversation's there, right? Obviously, they're set up now the next decade with Luka, but how do you now build your roster around Luka? Because LeBron maybe has another year, 2 years left. You're very thin up front now, having to rely on Jackson Hayes. I'm sure there's another trade out there, Robert Williams, Nick Claxton, another big out there. But how does it set up for the Lakers for the future?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's why I personally think the Lakers won the trade. However, I'm not going to say they won it by like an insane margin, because the Mavericks decided, you know what, Luka's going to get paid $300+ million, and we really don't want to pay him that. Like, I feel like if you were looking at Luka as a guy that doesn't play any defense at all, he needs the ball in his hands all the time, and whether he's out of shape or whether he's injured or all the above, they decided, you know what, as a franchise, I'd say cornerstone guy, we're not as sold on you as the rest of the league. I can understand that logically if that's the decision they made. I still think they could have gotten more for Luka, at least a couple more picks from the Lakers in addition to Anthony Davis there. For the future, it's why then the Lakers won the trade. Because if you're looking at what their future was looking like without LeBron and AD, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. They basically traded away all their picks, whether it involved the Westbrook deal or
nobody was buying tickets once LeBron left.
They were not really in a position to do anything. And the question was, when is LeBron going to trade? Because gonna potentially retire, or maybe even go back to Cleveland, or who knows what was going to happen there. But the Lakers decided, you know what? We have a chance to get a guy who's 25, who's a top 5 player in the league, who can once again help keep us relevant and competitive in title contention, potentially. We'll talk about what they can do for the roster for a decade plus. So I like the move for the Lakers a lot, because you'd assume for Luka, it would take a lot more. Anthony Davis is 31 years old. I feel like most of us thought he was older than that, but he's 31. Kyrie's 32. So I do wonder how long the Mavericks' current window is to actually be serious title contenders, because if they don't win a title in 2-3 years, they're probably screwed.
Yep.
If we're being honest here. Like, they went all in for the immediate future. The Lakers, people are looking at the Lakers now as a title-winning team. And Terrell scoffed at it. I agree with Terrell. I don't think they are a title-winning team. I think that the Lakers are
Who's playing defense on this team?
I think the Lakers are not winning a title this year.
No, seriously, let's talk about it. Who's playing defense on the Lakers right now?
Right now, their trio of defenders that I tweeted about was LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. That's one of the worst defensive trios in the entire league. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, the argument is for the Lakers, Luka and LeBron can drop 120 in a game. They'll give up 130, but nobody wants to talk about it. So I get why the Lakers did it. I think it's more of a transition move, to be honest. People can talk about how it's a move now because it makes the Lakers better than they were yesterday.
Does it?
I don't know about that, but the
Does
point is
it?
that's some arguments people want to make. I like the move for the Lakers because Pelinka took a really bad situation for their future and opened up a lot of possibilities down the road. That's why I think the Lakers won the trade, because you'd assume that they'd have to give up a lot more for a top 5 guy in the league who's not even in his prime yet. Yes, he's due a ton of money. Having said that, because of the trade, they don't have to give him a Supermax deal anymore. So Luka should be pissed because Luka lost out on a ton of money because he lost the Supermax on that.
I don't think I'm all the way right on the price of the money, but I know it was like $69 million he was supposed to get per year. I think now it's like closer to 40.
I think it's more than I think it would be more than 40. But the point is, they lost a lot. He lost a lot of money. That's the most important thing here. So I like the move for the Lakers, obviously, not because of immediate title contention, but because if LeBron decides after this current contract, I'm done, my career is over. I know I just dropped 30 in the Garden, but you know what? I'm done. My son's in the league. I played with my son. I got nothing else to accomplish. I'm good. And he just decides to walk away. The Lakers now are not totally screwed. Because if LeBron would have walked away, they would have A, gotten nothing for him, who still might be a top 20, top 10 player in the league. B, you're stuck with Anthony Davis with nothing else. And at that point, you're rebuilding. So
Austin Reeves.
Correct. And then B, you're stuck with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis disrespect.
I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way. The point is...
No, but I get it. I get what you were saying. That's why it was so funny.
It's mostly about losing LeBron for nothing and having no backup plan. That's kind of what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So now you open up an entire door to 6+ years of competitive basketball that you might not have had previously. That's why I think the Lakers won the deal. Mainly it's because I don't think Dallas is good enough to win a title in the next 2-3 years, but we'll see. Yeah. If the Mavericks win a title, then suddenly the narrative changes, and Dallas arguably, I can't say won the trade, but they are at least tied.
I would say that I say that it's won. Like I think it's a 50-50 trade, and they got exactly what you want. If Dallas somehow gets a title out of this, like you're like, oh great, that's
the point. Is that
that's
the narrative changes entirely if Dallas actually wins a title. If Dallas does not win a title and the Lakers make the playoffs and beyond, who knows if Luka wins a title or not. But if the Lakers end up making the Western Conference Finals,
you're happy.
Let's say 3-4 times in the next 8 years. People say the Lakers won the deal anyway. Dallas has to win the next 2-3 years unless it's going to be viewed as an insanely bad trade, whether it's fair or not. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Are the Lakers any different? Like, as of right now, let's say 5 years in the future, are the Lakers in any different stance than fringe playoff team, probably not contending for a title?
This is going to open up a very big Luka conversation, which I feel like I've mentioned many times on the show. I'm not as high on Luka as most people. I think Luka offensively is an all-time great player. I think that as an overall ball handler, just overall creation, he is an elite of the elite. Having said that, I don't know if he can actually be the best player on a title team. I've gone on record saying this. If I put him in the Harden grouping, I think it's a fair comparison. Yeah. They have the ball in their hands all the time. They don't do anything off ball. Harden's been very durable for most of his career. That's kind of a difference. But the argument is they don't guard anybody. Now, Harden was unlucky because Chris Paul got injured. He had an injury to himself and to Kyrie with the Nets. They could have won a title there. But the argument is Luka the best player on a potential title team? They made the finals last year. I don't know if you can win a title when your best player plays no defense. The counter argument would be Jokic, and that can open up a whole separate thing. If Jokic is bad defensively, as people say he is, whatever. The point is, I think Luka is a great and all-time great offensive player. I think he is an insanely bad defensive player who does nothing off ball. And I think that's going to limit the upside of any team he's on.
But the Jokic thing is that they actually surrounded him with defenders, right? Like they had
KCP, like they put a roster around
Aaron
him.
Gordon. Like now that's the job of Rob Pelinka is that, hey, we know that Luka doesn't play a whole heck of a lot of defense. And now his job starts now is surrounding players around Luka and LeBron that play at some type of defense. And a couple of people mentioned that if DFS fits that mold. I don't know if he's a big contributor for this team.
I mean, that's why they got DFS. They're going to need him to play wing.
Right.
Vanderbilt's played 3 games in 3 years, but he can play defense. So if he's healthy, he can help. But I mean, I want to ask you, because I compared him to Harden. You're the Houston fan. Is that a fair comp? Stylistically, they're very similar.
And
Yeah, stylistically.
answer the question about where you think the Lakers are in 5 years.
I think multiple Western Conference
I think I agree
finals.
with you,
I'm not
what
giving
Terrell
them the title.
said. Yeah, I think what Terrell said.
You think the
is
Lakers
that-
make multiple Western Conference finals in 5 years?
I think they have a shot to, but I'm not picking to win a title.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think I'm more with Terrell. It's like they're probably like a 7th, 8th seed and like fringe playoff team. Unless they make, again, it just comes down to them making more moves. To the James Harden comp, yes, but also, and again, this is a cop-out answer that we were a Chris Paul hamstring away from reaching the Western Conference Finals. But at that roster, they also surrounded James Harden and Chris Paul with defenders, right? I mean, at the time, Trevor Ariza, this was like 2017, 2018. So we're talking about 5-6 years ago.
He was still solid.
A solid defender. They still had defensive guys, Clint Capella, guys like that still played some type of defense. So at some point, like you kind of do agree with Nico Harrison about, hey, that defense wins championships, and also the money part of it, that you don't want to probably pay 65, 70 million a year for a guy for Luka Dončić. Just, I don't want to say for a guy like Luka, but what Scott mentioned about durability and being healthy and the effort level as well, right? So I think for this Lakers team, you are set up for the future now. Now Rob Pelinka's job starts, because LeBron's going to be done in maybe another year or two. That now you have to surround this Lakers organization with Luka as your franchise player for the next decade, about making a championship roster. And I think, Scott, you tweeted out yesterday that Jackson Hayes is just starting center now. So I think there has to be another move.
They have to make another move. That's a given.
Yeah.
So
right, whether it's Time Lord, whether it's Nick Claxton, whether it's Clint Capella, and that type of
Kessler. I mean, Jackson Hayes, compared to the other starting centers of the league, sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's not a starting center. I don't think he's even a backup center on a championship roster. I'll put it at that for this Lakers team.
The Lakers it's been 2020, so what's that, 5 years? It's been 5 years since the Lakers' last title. They have not shown me anything in the 5 years with LeBron and AD that will tell me that when LeBron somehow, some way moves on from this team and you're just rocking with Luka Dončić, that they're going to be able to put together any other championship roster. Somebody said, if LeBron leaves this team, how is this Lakers team any different than what Luka was doing with the Mavericks before Kyrie got there?
Yeah.
And it was a very good point, because the Lakers have not shown any effort of being able to build together a championship roster. They can't even figure out where to get a coach. So good luck to the Lakers. I think multiple Western Conference Finals is very generous. I will not take one Western Conference Finals out away from them, because they made one. And
a part of me is also banking on the Lakers, maybe just overall, I'd say, reputation and their ability to attract potential free agents as a destination. Like, I think they can find ways to improve the roster quicker than other teams around the league to at least attract free agents. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But Luka by himself has shown a ton of flaws that I feel like he doesn't get held accountable for enough. And it seems like Dallas was fed up with it. They gave him the same type of characteristics, without the, of course, playoff runs, etc., as Zion. A lot of similarities in terms of roasting to Zion. He's out of shape. He's injured all the time. Doesn't seem to fully care about basketball. A lot of similarities there. Of course, Luka's done more in his career than Zion has, but I think that, according to reports, I don't know what's true or not, there are rumors that Luka weighs 270 now, which sounds like an extreme Zion situation where he got injured and he just immediately gained about 50 pounds. I think that Dallas looked at the injuries and said, we're doing the same thing every year, and you clearly don't care about actually either staying healthy or taking, I'd say, control of your body when you're off the court, either in the off season or when you're injured. And we've had enough. And they felt like there was an immaturity there and a lack of professionalism. They had enough of it. So I'll put it this way. I understand why Dallas decided to zag and to trade Luka before he was owed $340 million. However, I still think they could have gotten more. And I feel like that's the main point I'll make. But unlike most people, I'm not as against Dallas trading Luka in general, but I think they should have gotten more in return. That's my compromise in the situation.
Yeah, so the press conference I watched today, that Nico Harrison said that there was no indication from Luka about wanting out or leaving when free agency approached. I think there's something bigger to that conversation. I would think Luka would have left.
The man said defense wins championships.
Yeah, and that was right. So I think that's a question you like. You're the GM. You were having to write the check to Luka that if you offered him the Supermax deal with what you just mentioned, Scott, do you want to pay him $65-70 million a year with weighing what rumored is 260, 270 now, effort on the defensive side? And I always say this, that sometimes the best thing for any sports team is availability. And sometimes some of these top players are not available. Yes, I understand they're coming off of an NBA Finals run here, but I think the grand thing of it is that what we're talking about, I think Scott and I agree, is that you could have gotten something bigger in return for a guy like Luka. And then for the Dallas side of things, my question to you guys is that let's just say they get one more piece. I think this team obviously set up more to win a championship potentially over the Lakers right now as constructed. But if I had a gun to your head, in the next 2 to 4 years, do you think that the Dallas Mavericks win a title with this roster?
Do I think they win one? No. If you're asking me right now, it's tough because Chet hasn't played yet, and we kind of have to wait.
That's the last piece that I'm waiting to fall, man. What does OKC look like at full strength?
That's kind of the point. But if you're asking me right now this season, I'll say this. If the Lakers would play in a hypothetical series against the Mavericks,
sweep. Oh my gosh.
Sweeps. I think sweep's insane, but I think Dallas is a lot more live than anybody would give them credit for. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm giving them a sweep.
I think Dallas can make it out of the West this year, assuming AD stays healthy, etc. I think they are built well enough to make a deep run in the playoffs again and maybe win it all. Maybe. Would I pick them to win it all? No. I wouldn't do so. But once again, the clock's ticking. They have about a 2-3 year window to win it all. And right now they're in a decent spot. I still don't think Clay should be starting in today's NBA. And I don't think that he is going to do much. He's had a really bad year. So I think that you still have to work on some wing stuff. But I think their depth is fine. Grimes has been good. Najee Marshall's been fine off the bench too. They have depth. They got Lively who's injured. They have Gafford has been solid as well.
Yeah.
They have a really dangerous front court defensively with Gafford and AD together. And Lively off the bench too. They can do a lot. Do they have enough actual ball handlers? Dinwiddie's kind of turned the clock back a bit. Kyrie's Kyrie. We know Kyrie's going to do his thing. They might need another guy. Hardy's still a little bit too much of a wild card for me to trust regularly in the playoffs. They might need another backup point guard, just overall shot creator potentially. A Jordan Clarkson type maybe to actually give you some scoring off the bench more consistently. I think the roster's solid, though. I think that they can definitely make a deep run. But will they win a title this year? I'll say no, but they are in that contender list. I'll say that.
It's either...
I forgot PJ, too. I like PJ Washington, too.
Yeah, PJ, yeah.
Yeah, I think the roster is good. I think it's either now or never. If they don't win it in this year or next year, then I don't think it's going to happen in the future 2 years. At that point, if you didn't figure it out with an off season, then I don't really know what to tell you. But I'm a little more optimistic about the Mavericks just because I think AD, when he's on the court, he's that much he's that good. Yeah. And there's a lot of teams in the West that have no idea how they're going to guard AD when the rest of his team is actually good. And I think that's the part that is really going to be frustrating. And it's going to show in the playoffs that the Mavericks are probably a better team than we're giving them credit for, is that teams been guarding AD when the rest of the roster has sucked. And you haven't had anything else to worry about except LeBron James and maybe an auxiliary piece here or there. But if the whole roster is good, good luck stopping AD. I think it could be interesting. So I'm more optimistic. I'll say this: I'm definitely putting down any piece of bet on the Mavericks before I do anything with any bet with the Lakers. I mean, Luka's 270. I think that's actually what the opening number is for Luka's first game in the Lakers jersey. That 270 is the total. That might very much.
I thought you meant his weight. I didn't realize you meant the total in the.
No, his weight and the total. They're both the same number. They're the same number.
I think you talk about this Dallas Mavericks, the surrounding pieces around Kyrie and Anthony Davis. You have guys that can shoot the basketball, right? Clay, he can still knock it down. I mean, I think he's been better this season, obviously, than he was, over the past 2 seasons for the Golden State Warriors. PJ Washington has been absolutely fantastic. For whatever reason, he has some type of vendetta against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But as constructed,
their ass, bro.
Yeah,
they really
they have been and that's the part that makes the Dallas thing so interesting, because what happens when you put Chet Holmgren on OKC and you put AD on Dallas? and we sit here and we say that they have another collision in the playoffs. Like,
I don't care how good Chet's going to be. AD's going to kick his ass.
Yeah, and so it's like, that's where I'm like, because I saw those games. I bet OKC a couple of those times where I just thought OKC was going to handle the Dallas Mavericks.
It was ugly offensively in a lot of those games.
And Dallas beat the shit out of them. Like, Dallas has really owned OKC this year. And if they turn that on with Anthony Davis, I don't know. I'm not going to lie. They are kind of scary.
I think that's why they made the push, though, because the argument is if the OKC is a tier above everyone else in the West, and you own that one team, then in theory, there's a path that's pretty realistic for you to actually make it. And if you have issues with Boston, who seems to be messing around, maybe they'll turn up for the playoffs, maybe not. You have Cleveland, who has not really proven anything in the playoffs before. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, there are some question marks around a lot of teams. You could find a way to win a title. So that's Dallas's logic behind it.
And then the thing because Dallas switches everything on defense, and it's so annoying because I just go back to Klay's first game. I don't know if you guys remember Klay's first game against the Warriors in the Chase Center, and the end of the game where Steph went crazy for like 12 straight because they kept switching Gafford, Lively, and Luka. That was literally play after play. Oh, switch Grimes, Gafford, Lively, Luka. Well, now you just inserted AD, who's going to be playing in crunch time and can guard 1 through 5.
Well, I do want to ask you, though, because I don't know if it was a hot take by me or not, because I know Luka's only 25 and he hasn't reached his prime yet. Do you think Luka can be the best player on a title team if he does not have the perfect supporting cast?
No.
I'm more skeptical than most people.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And like I mentioned, it's like they have to surround him now with guys that actually play.
Once again, if you end up creating a dream roster, you can win with anything. Tatum was arguably the best player on a title team. I don't know if I'd pick him to be the best player on most title teams, but that roster was stacked. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Luka, it's really tough to win when your best player, by far, plays no defense at all. It's very, very tough to win, and that's why they got their ass kicked by Boston. Boston was hunting him for the first 3+ games of the series, and Luka basically quit. That's kind of what happened, and then they won Game 4 by 50, and they lost Game 5 handily too. So Dallas decided, you know what? We want our guys to actually guard somebody, and your reliability, either when it comes to durability, fitness, or defense, or all the above. That's my concern with Luka. I'm hoping at some point he matures, and instead of yelling at officials the entire time, he runs back and actually tries to stop somebody on a fast break. We'll see what happens, but I think Luka is more flawed than people want to admit. But offensively, he's an all-time great player, and I recognize that. But basketball is a two-way game, and Luka only plays one way.
But also the question now that he does get traded to the Lakers, like, does that change now for him? Like, or do you still not see the effort for him on the defensive side?
My concern is that Luka and LeBron are going to yell at each other about miscommunications in every possession because they don't want to move at all.
Yeah.
That's my problem here. They're going to be a horrible defensive team every time LeBron and Luka are on the court.
Yeah, but then and that's the question. Like between the ears now of Luka Doncic, does it click to him that hey, I got to start either playing some type of defense, staying in shape, or or we can still see the same old story now that he's with the Lakers?
I mean, you can argue that LeBron is going to, as his idol, might teach him some stuff about fitness. He'll buy him 3 hyperbolic chambers to keep him healthy. Like, I don't know. I feel like LeBron, you could argue IQ-wise, can help Luka with maybe some shortcuts of how to, like, position himself in some spots to not get totally exposed. The thing is, though, like, this is what, cool. I'm not trying to fully hate on Luka. I'm just acknowledging he's an atrocious defensive player, and nobody holds him accountable for it. It's why Dallas got their asses kicked in the finals, because teams would just constantly attack him in pick-and-roll switches, and he wouldn't even try to guard anybody. I understand Luka is an elite offensive player. He's one of the most talented offensive players I've ever seen. But I'm not hating on a guy for acknowledging he's one of the worst defensive players in the entire league. If I'm going to roast Trae Young for being a traffic cone on defense, I'm going to hold the same energy for Luka. I'm not hating on Luka. I'm acknowledging he's injured a lot. He's been out of shape every time he's been injured. Even to start seasons, he's been out of shape, and he doesn't guard anybody. I'm not going to forget that you don't play half of the actual game of basketball when we're talking about the Lakers winning titles. You have to at least try to guard somebody, and Luka, more often than not, does not actually care enough to play defense. That's not hating on him. That's just being accurate. He doesn't try to play defense. Like, am I wrong?
No,
just
I
give him
agree
his
with you.
own. Give him his own spotlight.
I love watching Luka play basketball, but at some point, I don't know how many times you can get torched on defense and yell at teammates. We saw it in that Utah game earlier this season. He blew that coverage. John Collins got a free dunk. There are so many games he just doesn't even try to move outside of his small circle, and the team gets their asses kicked defensively. Yep. I have to at least hold him accountable for that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not hating on him. I'm being honest. Try to guard somebody.
No.
Constructive criticism. It's, I think, the correct
ignore the
here.
offense. He's a serious liability on
hating on Luka would be calling him a fat, lazy, disgusting slob, and we're not going to pay him $70 million
per season.
One more question. Where does this leave LeBron? Does he finish his career with the Lakers?
That is the other aspect of this. There were reports that came out from Chris Haynes that LeBron is expected to stay.
And that was the curious part.
Post-trade deadline. My initial thought when the Luka trade happened wasn't Lakers going to win the title, wasn't all that stuff. My initial thought is LeBron has about a year left.
No, I literally said LeBron has a year left on the Lakers.
That was my thought. I thought initially he might retire in the offseason, but he would probably want the farewell tour. And in reality, he still has a 2-year contract for $100+ million. LeBron, for as much money as he has been described as cheap and very, very money focused in his career. I think LeBron will finish his current contract and retire. Yeah, oh my God, LeBron can still play. Yes, I know he can still probably play 2-3 years. LeBron has hinted to retirement for the last couple of years. I think the writing is almost on the wall. The question is, does he want to maybe go back to Cleveland for one final season? Is there a trade in the works? Maybe. That would be the one exception I'd have for him playing on an NBA team that's not the Lakers. He wants to go back to Akron, maybe win another title with like Mitchell or Garland or who knows.
His last season with Cleveland.
Something like that. A whole farewell tour, trying to bring a ring back to his hometown team.
But he's already done that, though.
I know, but the Cavs are also in a great spot roster-wise, which also is a factor, but still. Or LeBron retires after next year. My initial thought was this is a passing of the torch.
Yeah.
LeBron is going to finish his contract, hand the torch to Luka. Luka's going to carry the Lakers or try to, and LeBron's going to walk into the sunset. That's my thoughts. I feel like that was my initial thought. People were looking at this trade as a Lakers are a title contending team now.
No.
My look right now was this is a preparation move for life without LeBron. That was how I looked at the trade initially.
Yeah, we also don't even know when Luka's actually going to be back for the Lakers.
According to reports, he's ramping up to come back as soon as possible. So we'll see what happens, but we'll see. The point is, I don't view the Lakers as a serious title contending team now. We'll see what center they get, but I do think it positions them very well to remain extremely relevant for the next decade, and that is still an achievement in itself.
Terrell, you have any thoughts for LeBron?
I think we agree. I think we just said the end of the contract and he's done.
Yeah, it's either so for me, I have workshopped a number of ideas of trades that I think LeBron may be moving on from because it just felt like that this is the passing of the torch. So there's a potential that LeBron just says, bump it. I want to play with Wemby one time. Like, I mean, I'm just going out here. I'm going out here and I'm playing with all the stars in the league. So let me go play with Wemby for a year. So I have a workshop trade of a Devin Vassell and a Lakers jersey trade that is going to send LeBron James over to the Spurs. I did think, man, the Lakers have no front court. So I was like, one of Jared Allen or Evan Mobley is probably going in some type of Cleveland trade as well. Mm-hmm. And then the best part, this is the best one that I came up with. I mean, how great would it be if the Warriors were able to trade Draymond Green? They were able to trade Draymond Green for LeBron James, and Draymond Green didn't even get to live to see LeBron James with the Warriors. I mean, come on. It's just, at this point, it's all fun and games. But it all leads to the same thing. 2 years. Max 2 years.
Well, 2 years basically including this year. But I think once again, I don't think he's going to Golden State. I don't think he's going to any of these other teams. The only team I can see is Cleveland because that would make a lot of sense if you want to go for the narrative, the closing of the LeBron book. He goes back home maybe wins another title there, and there you go. I think Cleveland would be the most realistic offseason destination if I had to pick one. He might just finish his career with the Lakers, but I think it's a sign that LeBron's
I was about to say,
NBA
I think the Lakers
career,
is more realistic.
correct.
But
But I'm saying if I had to pick another team, I don't think that he's going to have a 1-year rental with Wemby. I think that he'd go back to Cleveland because he knows Cleveland very well. But I think, once again, it's a sign that LeBron's time in the NBA is almost over. So as a fan, you might as well enjoy it. Or enjoy hating it because you don't have much time left.
All right. About 45 minutes in. I think we pretty much covered it, guys. Anything else that you want to get off your chest before we wrap it up here? Terrell, anything else?
How many second-round picks does Danny Ainge need?
Oh, fuck Danny Ainge.
Why is Danny Ainge in every
Yo,
trade?
shout out to Danny Ainge for getting involved in this trade. Like, I just can only imagine what was going through Danny Ainge's mind when they called him. It was like, hey, we need you to be the third team on the deal. Hey, what's the deal? Oh, yeah, we're sending AD over to Dallas and Luka over to LA. Wait, what?
Luka, it's like, yeah, we're going for Luka for LeBron. It's like, yeah, that's great.
Like, how did Danny, and that's what's really shocking of this, how did Danny Ainge not spill the beans about this trade going on? Like, there was no talk of this trade going on until it was done. Danny Ainge didn't say, oh yeah, I'm definitely telling somebody about this going.
There's two things. One, I'm pretty sure that's why Munaf and I thought Dallas could have gotten more, because they literally had Danny Ainge on the phone.
Yeah.
They literally had him on the phone.
Yeah, Danny Ainge was on the phone.
He was right there. The second thing is, I do enjoy the idea that Danny Ainge is like getting a phone call at like midnight going, yeah, Luka's going to get traded for LeBron. He's like, interesting. Tell me more about this Hood Shafino guy out of Indiana. Tell me more about this guy. What, 2 second-round picks?
Purdy was pretty good.
2 second-round picks? Really?
And the amount of guards that the Jazz have now is absolutely crazy.
They're preparing to blow up the league, and Ainge is like, let me just see what I can get for this 15th man on the Lakers who was a first-round pick like 3 years ago. Like, yeah, Ainge is just involved in everything, apparently, but Utah was randomly in the trade. Shout out to PJ Tucker, by the way, who actually might play some basketball this season. Unrelated. Shout out to PJ Tucker.
Very unrelated.
Terrell, anything else?
No, I think we did enough of it. The Mavs, basically, if you need all this, Mavs called Luka fat, disgusting, lazy slop. Like, that is, and they just didn't want to pay him the money.
I'm not going to correct you. That's actually just exactly
that's literally what they said. Like, that's what makes this so funny. There was no other reason they wanted to trade Luka Dončić other than conditioning, defense, and how much it was going to cost them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fat, lazy, disgusting slob.
All right, that is going to do it here for the NBA Gambling Podcast Emergency Pod. One of the more shocking trades, I guess we can say, for lack of better words, in recent memory. The funny part was I saw somebody tweet out that February 1st was also the day that the Lakers traded for one Pau Gasol as well. So
yes, it was
something about February 1st for the Lakers. So, all right. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, just kind of unraveling everything. We'll see when these players do make their debuts for their respective teams now. I know AD is dealing with that abdomen injury, and then for what it's worth, that Luka may be back sooner rather than later, but we shall see.
Well, he better be. He's been gone since Christmas.
People
forget he's been gone since Christmas.
Yeah. Yes. There was a clip or something that they saw Luka like on the scooter. That every time they bring up the injury, that just kind of comes into my mind that he's like going around then at the Maverick facility, rolling around on a scooter. But we'll see when he does in fact make his debut for the LA Lakers next to LeBron James. All right, make sure you guys follow Scott over on Twitter. That's at Reichel Radio. You can follow Terrell there as well, and on Instagram at @reallyrail__. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Do us a favor, hit that like button on your way out of the stream here, and of course, we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new week of NBA betting. And look out for us then, same time, same place, and hopefully we do start the week with some winners. All right, till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off, and always remember to let it ride.